My name is Polly Scott Showalter, and I'm representing Voters for Informed Action. It's a group that we formed just because we wanted to let people have a voice to be able to talk to our representatives and tell them what they're concerned about, talk about the issues that are important to them. And so that's why we were put in on this town hall. It's actually our second one, and we're getting a pretty good turnout.
One of the main cuts to Medicaid is a requirement that folks to receive Medicaid must work. Unless you are a senior, a pregnant woman, or an individual with a disability or a child, you must now prove that you are working at least 20 hours a week. That is expected to result in 170,000 Missourians losing their health care coverage. Many of those folks, I'll talk more about this, but many of those folks have mental health needs, may be going through cancer treatment, may have other situations that are driving them to Medicaid coverage, who are going to lose their coverage at a time in their life when they need it the most.
I look out at this crowd here, and we're all, how many are baby boomers out here? Oh, wow, look at that. Baby boomers care about America. We all grew up against communism. We all care. That's why we're here. We want to pass this on to our grandkids and our great-grandkids. And what's going on is not good. When DOG or dog, whatever, Doge or whatever you want to call it, came in. Dog. I had a philosophy. America's like a tree. It has branches, it has leaves, it has roots. It depends on the sun, it depends on the rain. Sometimes you have to prune that tree with a chainsaw. Well, you know, you cut it too far into that tree, it's going to die. And I think that's what was happening to America. You start taking that chainsaw to every department, eventually America will die. We've got to stop the chainsaw, we've got to get back to caring about people, and even both parties got to come together somewhere.
All of these federal lands that exist right in our own backyard attract about 5 million visitors per year to the 8th District, while they produce world-class timber and mineral resources and support hundreds, if not thousands, of local jobs and businesses. They provide financial help for private landowners and information about the world we all live in, which all results in an economic benefit of over $100 million annually for the 8th District because we have federal lands. These public lands are not just trees to be cut or minerals to be extracted or animals to be hunted. They are also irreplaceable watersheds that give us clean water, ecosystems that provide us clean air to breathe, and webs of life that sustain us all. We have hundreds of agency employees who live in the communities of the 8th District. They have spouses and partners who work there, and their kids go to school there. They are not the deep state, and they are not the enemy of progress. They are your neighbors and friends, and they deserve much better than they're getting from this administration.
When they're cutting these federal employees, I used to work for the USDA Forest Service. We were all law enforcement. Now granted, some of the things we can do are very, very minimal. Only like picking up the phone and saying, hey, we got a situation here. So all these people they're cutting your law enforcement for your public lands.
Killing the Keeling curve is in Project 2025. That record is the inconvenient truth Big Oil and the Heritage Foundation want to silence. So they bought an amoral government that couldn't care less. And it's emblematic of their slashing of research funding across the government. You can run, but you cannot hide from the immutable laws of physics. Global warming costs will continue to mount, and EPA head Lee Zeldin's claims of a $1 trillion savings by scrapping the EPA's endangerment finding will be no match for the economic damage from wildfires, storms, floods, droughts, punishing heat waves, and biodiversity loss, estimated to amount to $87 trillion through 2050. The insurance companies know this. They are canceling policies, raising rates, and pulling out of the most impacted states, leaving Americans' biggest source of wealth unprotected.
Well, I want to talk about Raleigh just a little bit. My name's Don Wilson. I've been in business here for 51 years. Born and raised out south of town, got out of high school, no electric, nothing but farm with horses. And I tell you, from what I'm seeing in 51 years here, it's not good. My dad went through the Depression. We don't know what that is. I mean, I milk cows by hand, walk to grade school, and that's where we're headed again. And I really don't know what the answer is going to be, but we got to get these people out of here and get somebody in here that's going to work.
Backing up to 2024, under the previous presidential administration, we were on the verge of passing the largest bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform piece of legislation that we'd seen since President Reagan. And, minutes before that was finalized, it was tanked by the president-elect so that he could run on immigration as a linchpin of his platform. So that once elected, he could use it as a test case without much popular dissent to start to dismantle amendments of the Constitution. And we know that if you've ever played Jenga and you start pulling out those pieces, you take a few out, the whole thing crumbles. So regardless of if you care much about immigration or immigrants, if that's not the issue that you're on fire for, I would assume you're on fire for preserving the Constitution, which is the framework of our government. And I would define a true patriot of this country as someone who goes to bat for the Constitution. So I'm gonna go through those last 6 months of policy through the lens of the Constitution, starting with number one, those 5 freedoms that we are guaranteed through the Constitution for anybody who's on American soil, regardless of if you were born here. We have seen a quieting of public dissent. We've seen international students have their visas revoked because they made public statements in disagreement with the universities that are in collusion with a foreign government, which they have the right to do. We have seen the National Guard again federalized against the will of the governor of that state to put down peaceful protests in response to immigration enforcement in those communities. The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable search and seizure. We have immigration enforcement officers who are not disclosing who they are. They are covering their faces. They are driving unmarked vehicles. They are not answering questions. And when people assert their rights, they are not respecting those rights. They have broken down doors and they've reached through car windows and pulled people out of those windows. That is against the Fourth Amendment. It also poses an additional conundrum for regular law enforcement. If you are unwilling to disclose who you are and who you work for, then anyone wearing a uniform becomes questionable.
The ICE budget, Border Patrol budget has exploded up to $178 billion and for the next year. Well, that's the same amount as the United States Marine Corps. The United States Marines has an annual operating budget of roughly $180 billion, excuse me. Now, part of that ICE breakdown is $1,000 for arrest and detention of an immigrant, $50,000 sign-on bonus, free education forgiveness that we've all been fighting for. We just got that taken back. So we're at this point in when's enough enough? And to follow up and close out on a biblical quote as well, Matthew 16:26. For what profit is it to a man if he shall gain the whole world but lose his own soul? By God, there's a lot of soulless assholes out there right now.